Welcome back to Neffy Cat. We're so glad that you can join us today. In today's video, I want to compare the stock market to the ocean. That is a particular analogy that I've been using for a long time that has really helped me with certain traits, certain things about the market. One of the things you'll see people do, they'll fight the market. It's almost like some people think that there's a war against them and others, like say the hedge fund dealers or the hedgies, and they will get angry about it and emotional about it and treat it more like a war than one would a swim in the ocean. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today so that it can help you while you navigate your journey through the stock market too. Well, our ocean is made up of big fish, little fish, crabs, lobsters, sharks, and whales, jellyfish, kelp, all sorts of cool things. But one of the things that you've got to regard about that is that they're each going to behave by their own nature. Human beings do the same, and you can only expect human beings to act like human beings. So when you have a shark, I'll compare the hedge fund dealers to sharks. And then I will compare perhaps some of the big institutional investors, which of course hedge funds can be too. I'll compare those to whales. And then me, being a retail trader, I compare myself to a little remora. Not even a pilot fish, because a pilot fish could be seen as somebody guiding the sharks into other behaviors, and that's more like a stock analyst. But I compare myself to a little remora. They attach themselves to the sharks or the whales, and they take a little bits off of the top amount that they have. Somebody is enjoying his seafood flavored temptations today. So one of the first things to recognize before you even let yourself get into trading is to accept the market for what it is. Accept the ocean for the ocean. If you're going to go swimming in the ocean, you don't expect the ocean to act like a pond. You don't expect it to be a pond. The ocean is going to act like the ocean. It's going to have waves. It's going to have currents. Just like the stock market has currents of up and down, and individual stocks do, even crypto does. There are currents just like there's this wind blowing today in our atmosphere. There's currents. A lot of those currents are driven by emotions like FOMO and FUD, among other things. Hopium. But prices are driven by catalysts, very importantly. But regard that about the ocean, and also accept the ocean for what it is and what it is not. An ocean is not a river. Well, the stock market is a stock market. It is what it is. And it's really important, instead of letting yourself go through the emotions of getting grumpy at hedge fund dealers, let's say if the price on your stock is driven down, instead of being angry at them, be a better strategist. Use better risk management so that you can get out. And just like a remora that's on a big giant shark that could kill it like that, well, those hedge fund dudes could kill your money like that. But instead of letting yourself be victimized, which is more like a poverty mindset, regard the fact that you're on a shark, and that when you're buying into something, there's a lot of other fish around, a lot of other sharks around. And you want to navigate that carefully and wisely. Then you don't get stuck in the middle of a feeding frenzy. Yes, like one of the points I wanted to make is knowing how to defend against a feeding frenzy. Well, sometimes you're going to see hedge fund owners or analysts kind of trying to get you to buy into a hype play. Or maybe somebody's trying to start a business and, they're wanting you to buy into their stock. You got to know that in that feeding frenzy, you can get bit. Crashes can happen very fast. And so know that about them. If you are going to go into a feeding frenzy, if you are going to go into a big giant rush of momentum play, know the market, know the play that you're in, know the stock that you're in, and be careful how you navigate. Get out when you start to see it fall. Don't hold on for dear life and treat it like it's a long-term investment hodl play. That's how you get bit in a feeding frenzy. That's how you lose your tendies in the stock market. You got to know to hunt the ocean wisely. When you're a fisherman in the ocean, you might not be going out in most cases, you might not be going out when there's gargantuous storms coming around that could sink your ship. You're going to be careful about that, aren't you? You're going to know I'm in the ocean. You also kind of have to know where to hunt and when to hunt. Some of you may remember some of those fishing shows from a few years ago where you'd see them going out in the cold in January and they go up into the north where all the plankton are. And then they'd be able to hunt their fish from that. Know that. Hunt the ocean wisely. Hunt the stock market wisely. Don't put yourself into overly risky situations. You know, I've kind of already said this, but don't treat a momentum play like it's a long-term hold. Get yourself the heck out of that feeding frenzy. All those sharks are around. You're going to get your fins bit. You don't want to do that. That could hurt you. You don't want that to happen to your portfolio. Go into the ocean flows and then exit correctly. One of the things you'll see, dolphins do this, they go with the currents. So as I'm telling you, be careful about momentum plays, go with the flow of the ocean too. When you do see an overall sector just starting to raise and it's got good catalysts that are going to be coming up, you can trade into some of those stocks. You can look at their top stocks. You can see how they're doing. You can go with the flow of that instead of fighting the current. Now, I know by going in the flow, with the flow, I don't mean buy in when everybody else is already there and that feeding frenzy is already happening and there's a million sharks already around. But you go in when you see it start. And you can be wise about it and trade in carefully and then exit when you need to. You know, if you're taking the Pacific current that goes from the south all the way up to the north, maybe you don't need to go all the way up to Alaska. Maybe you're not having to stay in until something reaches its top price and then crashes all of a sudden and eddies out where a lot of freezing icebergs exist. No, you don't have to do that. Go in there carefully and wisely. Yeah, you'll know to exit before you have any crashing tsunamis coming around too. If you're diving in that ocean, you want to do the same thing. You leave before it gets crazy. And instead of fighting the ocean, don't treat the ocean like it's a river. Don't treat it like it's a swimming pool or a pond. Don't fight the ocean either or you'll drown. So this is a problem that we have on my coast. Oftentimes we have what's called rip tides, rip currents. And the way that people will drown themselves is by fighting against the current. They'll panic if they get caught out in that current because it'll seem like it's carrying them away from the shore. And it is, but if you fight it and you're trying to urge your way back by swimming, you'll end up drowning. You'll exhaust yourself and you'll drown. So what you want to do in those circumstances is that you go with the flow and you navigate your way back into safety through the flow. You don't just fight against that current. You let it take you sideways. So think of yourself as a surfer. Even if you were swimming, you swim sideways and you slowly navigate your way back to the surface and to the shore. You don't force it. You don't try to use all of your energy and fight against that current or you'll drown. Well, that's the same for the market. You don't just go in and fight and go YOLO, convincing yourself that this one stock is going to be the miracle of miracles. You don't have to do that in order to get good money. Instead, you go with the flow of the ocean and you don't fight it. And then you'll have success. Yes, you can find success that way and somebody is playing. Another thing, and I was kind of starting to mention this already. Recognize bait for bait. Yes, sometimes hedge fund dudes are going to try to bait you, tell you to buy or sell a particular stock. He's not falling for debate. Look at that. He's caught on. He says, no, that stock stock is just too high. I know that it's gonna crash. Yes, people are just being baited in. I'm not gonna fall for that negative EA, or it's not the EA report, but that negative analyst report. That's a sound company. That's another angle, is when they're trying to bait you into not buying in. They're saying, oh, sell, sell, sell. Well, they're trying to bait you into selling and to putting your fish out there so that they can get it. They want that fish. They want all that for themselves. And that's a deal. But instead of wallowing around and getting yourself angry over it, strategize like the remora does. Strategize. And remember, you can safely navigate the waters where sharks are if you do. You can navigate the waters where hedge funds are if you navigate your own emotions too. And you regard the ocean for what it is. Navigate wisely. Get to know the water. Get to know the region. Get to know the types of fish that are in that water and what their behaviors are. What is the history of that area? Get to know a stock the way that it is. Get to know its history. Get to know the overall sector. Look at the stocks this way. Look at your buying and selling like that instead of being a shark victim. For those of you who have had any studies about sharks or oceans, you will know that a lot of times when shark attacks have happened, there have been reasons why. There have been behaviors on the part of the person, the diver, a lot of times that contributes to that attack. You need to know that about the stock market too. If you see things for what they are and see them for what they are not, you won't be baited in. And instead, you'll be able to swim this ocean, this market, very, very, very wisely. And on a last note, I want to this is just something I thought up here, but I want to encourage you to regard different strategies for the different environments of the ocean. So a fisherman may have a different strategy, first of all, for getting different types of fish. He may hunt tuna different than he does salmon or squid or lobsters and crabs. There's different techniques, just like there's different techniques for different types of stocks. Your longer term plays from solid companies with a good growth concept and a sound concept, you're going to treat those ones differently than you do the hype stocks. And that's very important. And also, the conditions of the oceans change, just like the conditions of the market change. And you need to change your strategy up for those different conditions. So you'll hear people say, have a good bear strategy for when the market is falling, and then have a good strategy for when the market is rising. And when you're in a frothy market that's very, very volatile, you may be able to do some momentum trades. Or if you're in a bull market and everything is rising, you may be able to have something that you hodl long term or longer term, maybe a midterm swing trade like for a month or a couple weeks, depending on what you need to do with the type of fish you're getting, so to speak. I wanted to share all that with you today and a note of encouragement. And thank you so much for allowing us to. Thank you. If you like the content of our videos, please don't forget to take your pause and press that like button. Don't forget that you can hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that a lot, and the notification bell so that you can see all of Neffy Cat's videos. Yes. Thank you so very much. Have a wonderful day. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.